Thomas Bruce, 7th Earl of Elgin and 11th Earl of Kincardine, July 20, 1766, November 14, 1841, was a Scottish nobleman and diplomat, known primarily for the removal of marble sculptures, also known as the Elgin Marbles, from the Parthenon in Athens. Early life: Elgin was born in Broomhall, Fife, the second son of Charles Bruce, 5th Earl of Elgin, and his wife Martha Whyte. He succeeded his older brother William Robert, the 6th Earl, in 1771 while he was only 5. He entered the army as an ensign in the 3rd Guards. He was elected as a Scottish representative peer in 1790, remaining one until 1807. Diplomatic career: in 1791, he was sent as a temporary envoy-extraordinary to Austria, while Sir Robert Keith was ill. He was then sent as envoy-extraordinary in Brussels until the conquest of the Austrian Netherlands by France. After spending time in Britain, he was sent as envoy-extraordinary to Prussia in 1795. Elgin was appointed as ambassador to the Porte in December 1798. On March 11, 1799, shortly before setting off to serve as ambassador at Constantinople, Elgin married Mary, daughter and heiress of William Hamilton Nisbet, of Durlton. Elgin finally arrived at Constantinople on November 6, 1799. Elgin was ambassador to the Ottoman Empire between 1799 and 1803. He showed considerable skill and energy in fulfilling a difficult mission: the extension of British influence during the conflict between the Ottoman Empire and France. He departed Turkey at last on January 16, 1803. Acting on the advice of Sir William Hamilton, he procured the services of the Neapolitan painter, Lusseri, and of several skillful draftsmen and modelers. These artists were dispatched to Athens in the summer of 1800, and were principally employed in making drawings of the ancient monuments, though very limited facilities were given them by the authorities. About the middle of the summer of 1801, Elgin received, as is said, a firman, from the Porte which allowed his lordship's agents not only to fix scaffolding round the ancient temple of the idols, the Parthenon, and to mold the ornamental sculpture and visible figures thereon in plaster and gypsum, but also to take away any pieces of stone with old inscriptions or figures thereon. Due to the loss of the original firman, it isn't sure that the translation is correct. The actual removal of ancient marbles from Athens formed no part of Elgin's first plan. The collection thus formed by operations at Athens, and by explorations in other parts of Greece, and now known by the name of the Elgin Marbles, consists of portions of the frieze, metopes, and pedimental sculptures of the Parthenon, as well as of sculptured slabs from the Athenian temple of Nikiapteros, and of various antiquities from Attica and other districts of Hellas. Part of the Elgin collection was prepared for embarkation for England in 1803, considerable difficulties having to be encountered at every stage of its transit. Elgin's vessel, the Minotaur, wrecked near Cirigo with its cargo of marbles, and it was not till after the labors of 3 years, and the expenditure of a large sum of money, that the marbles were successfully recovered by the divers. On Elgin's departure from Turkey in 1803, he withdrew all his artists from Athens with the exception of Lusseri, who remained to direct the excavations which were still carried on, though on a much reduced scale. Additions continue to be made to the Elgin collections, and as late as 1812, 80 fresh cases of antiquities arrived in England. The removal of about 1/2 of the frieze metopes, frieze and pedimental sculpture was a decision taken on the spot by Philip Hunt, Elgin's chaplain, and temporary private secretary, that is representative, in Athens, who persuaded the voivode, governor of Athens, to interpret the terms of the firman very broadly. Lord Elgin bribed local Ottoman authorities into permitting the removal of about half of the Parthenon frieze, 15 metopes, and 17 pedimental fragments, in addition to a caryatid and a column from the Erechtheion. He used these antiquities to decorate his mansion in Scotland and then later sold them to the British Museum in an attempt to repay his escalating debt. On the recommendation of a parliamentary committee, which also vindicated Elgin's conduct, the marbles were bought by Great Britain in 1816 for £35,000, considerably below their cost to Elgin, estimated at £75,000, and deposited in the British Museum, where they remain. Later career: Elgin, who had been detained in France after the rupture of the Peace of Amiens, returned to Britain in 1806. Finding that he could not get the British Museum to pay what he was asking for the marbles, Elgin sued his wife's lover for an appropriately high sum. He divorced Mary, for adultery, by legal actions in 1807 and 1808 in the English and Scottish courts, and by Act of Parliament, which caused much public scandal. Then, on September 21, 1810, he married Elizabeth, 1790–1860, youngest daughter of James Townsend Oswald of Dunnockere. Elgin moved to